Hi everybody, hope you're having an awesome day. Hey, I'd like to stop and today and just talk a little bit about things I learned when I first started out doing keto that really help you progress and help you stay on track, and really some of those beginner mistakes that you make. So I thought I'd kind of go through some of those things, help you, hopefully pass on that knowledge to you so you can pass it on to somebody else. Hopefully it helps make your weight loss journey and getting your health back journey much better. So I thought I'd talk about that today. Really, I want to talk firstly about when you start out doing keto. A lot of people start doing a low carb diet and they say, well, keto is the same thing as low carbs. And there's a lot of similarities, but I would say that you have to be really careful, right? So, because when you're doing low carb, you'll try to eat a lot of the lean meats and you'll try to keep your carbs low, but you're trying to keep your proteins pretty high, and you're probably keeping your fats pretty low as well. So the problem with that is, I guess I would use the analogy that it's kind of like a hybrid. Your body's like a hybrid car, right? That you're running on electricity for a while, and as you get ketones kicked in and you start getting into ketosis, that your body starts looking for other energy sources because of the carbs are gone. So all of a sudden, that electric fuel in your car is gone. So once the electric fuel runs out, it kicks over and it starts running on gas. So your body's very similar to that, right? So you run out of the electricity in your car, it kicks over and is running out of the gas, and your body is going to run on something else. So it's looking for that. So it's looking for the fat, and it starts to burn the fat. And you generally, especially in low carb, you'll do pretty well. But after a while, you'll start feeling really sluggish, feeling really tired, because guess what? You're starting to running out of that fuel. It's having a hard time kicking that fuel over because you're not consuming any of it. So there's no new fuel going in. So it's trying to spare the fuel that it has and trying to make it last longer. So you feel really sluggish, you feel really tired. And then all of a sudden you start getting hunger pains, you'll start feeling hungry all the time. Whereas in keto and you're eating that high fat, right? So when you're eating that high fat, you really think about it, and that fat is what fuels your body. So you switch from those carbs, all that glucose and sugar and everything else that you're eating, over into starting to use the fat in your body efficiently and consuming fat to continue to stoke the fire and keep it going. It helps keep the energy up, it keeps you motivated, it keeps you going, it satisfies you so you're not getting those hunger pains and those hunger feelings. I'm not going to say you don't get cravings, right? So everybody gets cravings because every once in a while you want to do something that you haven't had in a while. You want a pizza or you want some French fries or something. But just the hunger pains in general, and that will throw you off and make you unsuccessful. So I would say really be careful about that. Stick to the plan and trying to really make sure that you're eating the right quantities of whatever you're doing. And speaking of that, is also, just like I said, trying to make sure you're hitting those macros that you have to hit. The macros, 75, 70% fat, about, that 10%, 15% of 20%, maybe, it depends on your age and what you're trying to do, whether you're doing health or whether you're trying to lose weight or not, on your protein, and then that 5% in your carbs, right? So really think about it. So when you break down your macros, you gotta hit all of them, or come close to them, right? So if you're eating low carbs, but say something like shrimp, right? Shrimp has no carbs in it, so I can eat as many as I want, but you know what? It boosts my protein way up, and I get no fat. So you miss all that fat going into your body to fuel the engine, right? So it's not good. You have to have a balance. You have to hit all of them, right? So if you hit all of them and you hit 19 carbs and you hit the 120 grams of protein and you hit the 130 grams of fat a day or 105 grams of fat a day, depending on what your macros are, and you hit all three of them, guess what? All of a sudden now your body's balanced. You're getting enough food in your body to sustain yourself, to make yourself feel good, keep down your hunger pains, make you feel satisfied. You'll see the cravings will go away, and it really works really well. But you have to do all three. You have to have the right balance of fat, the right balance of protein, and keep under a certain number of carbs, right? So you have to do all three of those things. So it's real important that you actually track all those things, that you do that. So, to do that, I will say that, staying under 20 carbs, right? So really 20 carbs is net carbs is what you should be doing. I do net carbs. I know a lot of people that do net carbs. Some people do total carbs. But set your carbs, make sure you get the right carbs. And if you're hitting the right carbs and the right fat and the right diet and the right proteins, all of a sudden you're going to find out by doing that, it will also help reduce your caloric intake as well. And I would not even worry about caloric intake, but because if you're hitting all three, you're going to see your caloric intake go down. And when your caloric intake goes down, that means your body's burning that fat that you have on you, and it will continue to reduce and you'll continue to lose weight. Now, the lower you keep the carbs down, the more caloric intake or less caloric intake you'll have, so the more weight you'll lose. So just be cautious. You don't want to lose too much weight too fast, because you can lose quite a bit of weight. The second thing I would say is don't worry about measuring your ketones, and don't worry about weight loss in general. Everybody's different, right? So some people will lose weight really fast. Some people takes a while, 2-3 weeks, a month to kick in. And some people don't necessarily lose a lot of weight. They'll lose inches around their waist and their legs and their hips, and it takes a while before it really starts to kick in. So don't be overzealous in what your expectations are. So try to stay on plan, take your time, and just relax, let it go. Again, ketone levels, I know everybody measures ketone levels. There's all kinds of things out there to measure them with. I'm not a big fan of them. Like they say, as you get into fat adaptation, which takes a while, probably 3 to 6 months before you really get that fat adapted feeling in your body. And once you do that, your ketone levels don't have to work as hard to burn fat. So therefore, your body will actually slow down making them. So they won't make as many of them. So people measure them and they think they have to have high levels of ketones, and you really don't. It's more about burning the fat efficiently versus having high ketones. So just think of that. So another thing too is just be cautious of what you're eating, because of the fact too much of a good thing is too much, right? So I would say I'm a big fan of nuts, so I eat a lot of nuts. We keep pecans in here, walnuts in the house, and generally we'll eat those. The pecans and the walnuts have pretty good ratios. They're pretty good fats. They're pretty low on carbs. I know I think it's a quarter of a cup of pecans is 4 total carbs and 3 fiber, so it's 1 net carb. But it's really easy. It's really easy to sit there and grab a handful and eat them, and then grab another handful, another handful, another handful, and before you know it, you've eaten, a whole bag of them, and they're all gone, and you've eaten 20 carbs and nuts or something else. So, and nowadays they're making all kinds of really good keto snacks as well. So you just have to be really cautious about eating too much of a good thing. So really track your carbs and make sure that you're watching what you're eating. If you're interested in hearing more about nuts and comparing nuts or something like that, comment down below. Let me know what you think. Subscribe if you like this kind of stuff. Let me know what you think. Thumbs up if you like it, please. So subscribe, as I always say, right? But just, a lot of things that are out there that say keto, you've got to be really cautious of, because the serving sizes are very, very small. I know at Costco they have these keto bites, and they're pretty good. The ingredients are pretty good on them, but there's only 3. They're little tiny things, and there are 3 for what the net carbs are on the package. I don't remember what it is, but man, I'll tell you, they are so good that you could have them for breakfast. You could have a couple of them for breakfast, and it'd be easy to eat 20 of them for breakfast. They're so small. So just, you gotta be really, really cautious. So if you have something like that, you saw the ice cream video from yesterday. If you looked at that, there's 3 servings in a container, and please go back and check that one out, because it was a pretty good one. I think it was a pretty good one. Go back and check that one out. There are 3 net carbs in some of those, and there's 3 servings in there, so there's 9 carbs in there. So if you're doing a 20 net carbs, that's half your carbs for the day if you eat one of those. So you have to be really cautious about what you're eating. It's a little bit to enjoy yourself, to indulge yourself. So you have to be really careful. So the other, and probably one of the more important things too, is learn to read labels, right? So I will tell you that it really wasn't until I was 6 months or probably closer to a year into this weight loss journey when I started really looking at labels and listening to people talking about labels and learning about that. So you really have to kind of start learning all of that. There's like 55, 60 different names that sugar they put on packages now. So they kind of try to disguise it, everything from fructose to dextrose to maltodextrin to all kinds of names out there. So kind of start learning about some of that stuff. Hey, if you're interested in that, I do have a list of sugar names that they use in the food industry to kind of disguise the sugar to make it sound more healthier for you. If you're interested in that, comment below and I'll see if I can put that list on if you're really interested in seeing it. So it's just a lot of food like that. I think yesterday when we did the ice cream, there was, I was going to say, one of the brands had like maltodextrose in it, had saccharose in it, had all kinds of stuff in it. So that not necessarily are good for you. So you got to really, like I say, they're sugars. They make your body react as sugars, and then they just kind of hide them by changing the name a little bit or something else. So, natural flavors is another one you got to be careful of, because basically what it's saying is they could take a drop of something and drop it into a 55-gallon drum and mix it with a bunch of chemicals and say that's a natural flavoring. So you don't know what's in it. You really don't. It's a mystery. So, but it's got 1 drop of some kind of a natural juice or something in it, and then the other 50 gallons is some other chemical that was brought up in a lab. So just something to be cautious about. And probably the most important thing to me, and I still do it to this day, 3 years later, I'm still doing it, is tracking your food, because you have no idea what your macros are going to be if you're not tracking. You're taking a guess. Can you do lazy keto and kind of after a while get a kind of a feel for it? I would say, yeah, you probably could if you're eating a lot of the same stuff every day. I like to eat a lot of different stuff, so it's harder for that, because if you're eating a lot of different stuff, it's harder to keep track of that, because you don't remember what you ate last month. If you didn't eat one for a month ago, what were the macros on it? What was the fat content? What was the protein content? How many carbs were in it? How many fiber were in it? Right? So it's hard to remember that stuff from 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. So you really have to think about it. So it's really easy to plug it into something like Carb Manager or MyFitnessPal or one of the other apps that will help you track your carbs and your consumption, so you know what your macros are and whether you're hitting them or not. It also tells you, well, I'm eating too much protein, so I got to eat something else. So it tells me that I need to go and get a fat bomb and eat some fat bombs to get my fat content up, right? And not eat any more shrimp. So if you're interested in fat bombs, go in and check out one of my other videos from the past with the strawberry fat bombs. They are just out of this world. They are just unbelievably how good they are. So I would say definitely download one of those fitness apps, or one of those carb trackers. They're they're pretty reasonable. You can get them for free. I know Carb Manager has a free version. That's the only one you really need to do. You can just put your carbs in there every day. Just check and make sure that the carbs are right in it, because sometimes a lot of it depends on people putting stuff in there, and sometimes the information in there is not correct. So you really got to check it and make sure, especially with the labels and stuff like that, you got to make sure it's correct. It does have a scan function, so you can scan the label and it will put up all the nutritional values into the fields based on the labels, and then you just change whether you're eating 1 serving, 2 servings, a half a serving, whatever happens to be. So that's really easy to do. It doesn't take much time. It does take a little bit of time. It does take some effort to do it. But especially when you're first starting out, you really, really should do that, because I will tell you, I find so many people that talk to me You say, I'm trying to do it and I'm not losing weight and I'm not being, it's not coming off the way it should. What's going on? And you say, well, what are you eating? And you say, well, I really don't know. I'm not tracking anything. And you start saying, well, what did you have for breakfast? And they say, well, I had a cup of coffee and I drank some half and half. And then I had some other sugar substitute. It was aspartame or something like that. And you start saying, well, the half and half you shouldn't really have because it's pretty high in carbs. The aspartame is not really healthy for you. You should probably avoid that. Try to either do erythritol or monk fruit or stevia leaves or something like that. And you say, well, what did I have for dinner? Oh, I went out and had a cheeseburger with no bun on it. Oh, what did you have on the cheeseburger? Oh, I had onions and mushrooms and I had ketchup and I had relish. And all of a sudden you can start talking about, oh, ketchup is mostly sugar. So you just ate a teaspoon of sugar with that burger on it, and it starts, you're getting into all of the condiments and stuff of that nature, all the little things that you eat and put with your food, and that's not healthy for you. And those have tons of carbs in them, add up. Salad dressings are terrible, notorious for very bad ingredients and very bad for you, and the carbs add up really, really fast. And if you look at them, they have 1 teaspoon on there as their serving size, and you're putting probably 5 tablespoons on there, and it's 2 carbs a piece. So you just ate 15 carbs, 10 carbs, or whatever it is. So you really, really have to, when you're first starting out, I would say for the first 6 months anyway, at least track your food, see where you are, to see how that progresses. That's probably the most important thing you can do. And also, if you're not losing weight or you're not having the success you want, it gives you that opportunity to go back and take a look at it and kind of understand, well, what am I eating that maybe I shouldn't be eating? Things like, maybe I'm having too much cheese and too much heavy cream. Maybe I should cut back on some of that and use coconut cream instead of heavy cream. Or maybe I should be eating less cheese and something else in its place. Or maybe I need to look at the type of cheese I'm eating, and I'm eating something that's a little different. Or it just gives you a starting point to go and look at, and to really dissect and start understanding where you might be having a problem. For somebody that comes to me, if they have something like that, we can kind of go and look at it and kind of understand it, and kind of really help to go from there to see if there's something that they should be eating less of or eating more of. Because again, if you're not hitting your fats and you're getting too much protein and not enough carbs, it's throwing your body off as well. Then you're going back into that point where your body thinks it's actually starving, and it's trying to store the fat and trying to live off the protein, and it's not a good combination. Now, can you adjust those? If you're younger, you're working out, and you're trying to do more of a lean cut, then you could probably take it down and do 60% fat and 30% protein, and and then maybe a 10% carbs or something like that, or 35% protein and 5% carbs. So that way there you'll really get rid of that. You'll still have enough fat to burn and keep going with it, as well as you get the protein to build muscle. But when you get older like me, then you're trying to get lean, you're trying to get healthy. Your body actually will start healing itself. For me, I got rid of a lot of the aches and pains in my bodies, my elbows, my back, my knees, those things. So it really helped me get rid of a lot of that stuff. It makes me feel a lot healthier and a lot better overall, right? Some of it was just getting the weight off. Some of it was also just because you're not eating all of the things that cause inflammation in your body, the wheats, the oats, the sugars, the gluten, all that kind of stuff. So, hey, if you find this informative, you find it interesting, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Love to know what you'd like to hear more of. Would you like to talk about the nuts and go into that? Would you like to maybe go into some magnesium? We could talk a little bit about what different types of magnesium there is and what they do for your body. Recipes you'd like to see me cook. I got a bunch of recipes coming up, some main course recipes, some dessert recipes. What would you like to see? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd really appreciate it. And then help us get this channel moving forward. All right? Have a great day. I know you're awesome. and have an awesome day with that, with your awesomeness. And we'll see you next time.